Hey out there in fifth grade virtual learning land. This is Mrs. Domino coming to you straight from Lisa, Missouri. I'm going to introduce this week's skills with kind of a little talk about literal language versus non-literal language. I know we've been delving into the world of nonfiction text and basically what point is the author making, what reasons they provide, do they have the facts to back. We talked about analyzing multiple accounts of one event or one topic, and that those are those critical life skills that we are learning to kind of develop as we grow. Well, this week and the next week are going to be so much fun because we're going to dive into what I would consider the color, the glitter, the sparkle of language, and that is figurative language. That is that language that we know is not literal, but it sure does make life more interesting. If you know anything about me, you know that I'm a person who I weave this into my regular everyday life conversations because I'm kind of silly that way and I'm a big old dork, but I wear that badge proudly. So today I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about literal versus non-literal, and the five main types of figurative language. Now, there are more, but I'm just going to start with the big five, is what I call them, and they're ones you've probably heard of before. So again, Clarendon Learning, yay, shout out Clarendon, has a really neat series of lessons, and they're really helping me through this time of virtual / distance learning, and I'm really pleased by the work that they do. So, here goes nothing. Have you ever heard someone say, I played that game 1,000,000 times? Do you truly believe someone can play a video game 1,000,000 times? It is not possible. If a person plays a video game 2 times per day, it would take nearly 2,000 years to reach 1,000,000. You know the meaning of each word in the sentence, but when you join all the words together, there's a different meaning. It is obvious the person has played the game many times. The sentence is an example of using exaggeration to emphasize something, to add excitement, or just to be funny. Even though you know the meanings of thousands and thousands of words, when you put them together in sentences, the meanings may change. For example, cats and dogs are pets, but when it is raining cats and dogs, it means the rain is coming down very hard. Words and sentences have their literal meaning, the real definition of the words, really, or they could have a non-literal or figurative meaning, which is not the actual definition of the words. If you look at the literal language of the words, then you're just talking about what do they really, really, really mean. So the literal meanings, it's the true meaning. For example, check this out. Literal, the secret has been revealed. Nothing wrong with it. But isn't it a little more colorful to say than non-literal, the cat is out of the bag? Now, there's no cat jumping out of a bag, although in my house it's been known to happen. But both statements mean the same thing, that there's a secret that is now known to people. But the non-literal statements about a cat, which represents the secret, was once unknown, but now the cat, who's really the secret, has been removed from or taken out of the bag. It's no longer a secret. When a person says exactly what they mean, they're being literal. Sometimes you might hear someone make a comment like this. Literally, it has been raining for 2 days straight. The person's emphasizing that it truly has been raining for 2 straight days, and they're not trying to exaggerate the information, right? Like it literally rained for 2 days, not a big deal. A non-literal statement about the rain could be, it's been raining forever. Now, I'm thinking right now, we have been on social distancing lockdown forever. Now, has it been forever? No, it's been about 2 official weeks, almost 3, but yes, it feels like forever since I've been in a classroom. So literally, though, it's only been like a couple weeks. Now, there are several types of non-literal language called figurative language. So non-literal or figurative language includes the use of words or phrases that are used differently than their true or real meaning. There are several types of figurative language, and each one is non-literal. Most likely, you have used figurative language, without realizing it. Review some of the examples. Do you know what they mean? I have a ton of homework. Do you really? Do you really have a literal ton? Probably not. The word, I am just having a great time today, kids. The word was a piece of cake. If you're in my class, I would love to call it, I would say that word was a piece of cheesecake. Either way, it was not literally a piece of cake. Don't cry over spilled milk. Well, you might, because then you have to clean up the mess, but we know that has a bigger meaning. Don't cry over something that's just a little silly. The town never sleeps. Well, in our town, maybe it doesn't with all this corona stuff going on. The students are busy as bees, okay? When I'm in my classroom, I do not indeed have a colony of bees working for me. So, let's talk about what I call the big five. Hyperbole, the use of exaggeration, and it emphasizes a point and it adds excitement or humor. There were 1,000,000 people standing in line. At all day yesterday, I felt like there might have been 1,000,000 people. I might have used that yesterday. It took forever to finish the work. The never-ending work supply of virtual learning. All right, so a metaphor is another kind. It's a comparison between two things that are not the same. Now, please pay attention because similes and metaphors confuse kids. They've tripped them up for decades. Now, the singer's voice was music to my ears. It didn't say the singer's voice was like music. It said the singer's voice was music to my ears. It's that direct comparison. The mean man has a heart of stone. Again, it didn't say that his heart was like stone. It said he has a heart that is stone. So those direct comparisons are metaphors. Next one down, simile. A comparison between two unlike things using, I see a little oopsie, but we know what they mean, using like or as. Notice the word simile has an L in it. I try to connect that to the word like. Simile uses like or as. The newborn baby eats like a bird. Older people are sometimes wise as owls. There's that like, there's that as. Now an idiom, idioms are a really good time. And if you were like learning English for as your second language, this would be where you would probably look at people crazy when you know just the literal language, because English has a lot of idioms and they would make people think that you're crazy if they really tried to guess what they meant. So the intended meaning differs from the literal meaning. For example, every cloud has a silver lining. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. I don't know about you, but I haven't counted a lot of chickens lately. But if you think about that, don't count something that is not yet in your hands. And then the silver lining, it means, everything has a positive outlook. But if you look outside, I do not believe every cloud has a literal silver lining. Personification. This one, guys, I'm going to give you a little clue within the word. It's giving human characteristics to non-human objects or things. Take a little looky-loo here. Person. So it's something that's not a person having the characteristics of a person. So the lost keys were playing hide and seek. That happens to me all the time. The stars were winking at me tonight. Hey, girl. So are the stars really winking at you? No, they're twinkling. But anyway, those are the 5 main types of figurative language. So you may have heard or even used many of these examples. To help understand figurative language, it's important to understand the literal meaning of the phrases. For example, if you say you have a ton of homework, it could mean you have lots of homework, because a ton is a lot. Another example is related to birds, which do not eat much. So if a baby eats like a bird, the simile tells you the baby just doesn't eat much. There are many examples of figurative language. Some are popular and used quite often. You can easily use figurative language when writing stories or passing along information to a friend or family member. The use of figurative language often helps make a story more exciting, funny, or may bring a clearer meaning or image to the reader or the listener. Not exciting. On my way to school, it was cold. Clear and exciting. On my way to school, I turned into an ice cube. Both statements tell you it was cold, but the one using figurative language is more interesting and there's emphasis added because of the ice cube. Practice creating your own figurative language examples. Spoiler alert, this week's activities are going to center around figurative language. You're going to be able to identify it, kind of interpret it, but we're going to challenge you to write some of your own. So, describe something about yourself using literal and non-literal language. That is a throwdown that I'm going to put out there. After you've seen this, you feel free to create a document, write it down. If you're not inspired yet, that's okay. But if you'd like to, share some of that with me. Like, I'll go first. My eyes are kind of hazily brown, but sometimes they look really dark. And I might say, my eyes are as brown as a cup of coffee without cream. Okay? So you can see that coffee, without the cream yet, and that's kind of the color of my eyes. So I made a simile about my eyes. So you can think about yourself physically, you can think about your personality. You say, she was as sweet as a little lamb. Okay? Listen to that little simile. Okay? So I hope this helps. You're welcome to go through this, pause it, read by yourself, listen to me read, but I hope this is a good document to help guide your lessons this week. Until next time, my friends, stay amazing.